Welcome to Practical Law. I'm your host, family law attorney Henry Gornbein. I'm also pleased to state that we are now being co-sponsored by the Oakland County Bar Association. Divorce is very traumatic for anyone, but the biggest losers and the innocent victims are our children. Children of all ages are hurt and impacted, and children in elementary school obviously go through a traumatic time. Today on Practical Law, I'm pleased to welcome my good friend Suzi Epstein, who is a counselor at West Maple Elementary School in the Birmingham School District, and is going to tell us about some programs and things she's done with regard to children who are going through the trauma of a divorce. Suzi, welcome to Practical Law.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
First of all, why don't you tell our viewers about your background, who you are, and what you do as a school counselor?
Okay. I have a degree in teaching. So I've taught in regular education and special education, emotionally impaired and learning disabled for many years. In the last 20 years, I've been an elementary school counselor in Birmingham Public Schools at West Maple Elementary. And I also do private practice in West Bloomfield.
Children, as I said a minute ago, are the innocent victims.
Right.
And I guess, let's start by asking, what are the first signs that you as a counselor or teachers look for if a child is starting to show the impact of a divorce?
Okay. It's really a broad gamut, a spectrum of signs. Sometimes children who are generally not withdrawn and gregarious and outwardly happy seem to withdraw and show less emotion, kind of draw within, and so it signals to us, something might be going on, there might be an issue at home. Sometimes we see an opposite behavior on the opposite end of the spectrum where children get very aggressive and hostile and angry, and they're very sensitive and quick to emote and quick to cry and quick to act out. And so again, that triggers to the teacher or myself as the counselor, we need to take a look at what's going on. There could be something happening in the home that we need to check out with the family.
What about a sudden drop in grades or?
That's very apparent. Sometimes we see children who are exhibiting a give-up mode. A student who is usually an A or B student will turn in nothing. Their assignments will go bare for weeks or two at a time, and then it will signal for us to call the parent. As the older kids get into more academics, you'll see more lethargy, more I don't care, it doesn't matter to me anymore. Kids who used to perform very well on tests sometimes start to, kind of bomb out and just don't really have any motivation to try anymore. And so that, again, would signal us to check in with the family to see what's going on.
Suzi, will parents often tell you that we're going through a divorce and would you please pay special attention to or watch our son or daughter?
Yeah. More than often, or more frequently than not, parents will call up and say, we want to give you a heads up without going into any details. We're thinking about separating, we're contemplating divorce, and we need you to know because there's been stress in the family, there's been a lot of arguments, the kids are sensing something, and we want to give you a heads up in case you notice things in school. Usually by that point, we will have recognized and kind of been watchful of some kinds of things. So many times we'll contact the parent prior to them contacting us. But we encourage parents, if there's changes in the environment, whether it's divorce, separation, a death situation, to contact us and let us know, because it definitely impacts how the children behave in school and how we need to respond to them. So we need to be aware of that.
You're a counselor. Exactly what does that mean?
I'm so lucky. It's the best job, and I love it. And it really gives me the privilege and the opportunity to wear many, many, many hats. So as an elementary school counselor in Birmingham, our general job is to meet the needs of the general population, as well as the special ed needs, but moreover the general population. So we go into classrooms and do group guidance and classroom counseling and decision-making, problem-solving. In terms of the divorce per se, or individuals seeing us or small groups, we do run groups according to the needs of the school. So every year I run several divorce groups based on age level and need. Many children cycle through these divorce groups K through 5 because the situation changes at their home, or they've developed or matured, and so what they bring to the group is different in kindergarten than they bring in 4th grade. So we have small divorce groups. We also run study skills groups, friendship groups, but kids kind of trickle in and out of the groups. They usually run for 6 to 8 weeks at a time. Sometimes I've had kids come back and say, well, I know I've run through the group, but I want to be in another group, and can I come back? And so we do that.
Suzi, how do you pick who's in a group?
We send out notes to parents and say, you know, we are running divorce groups or friendship groups or whatever, and if you would like your child to be involved, please fill out the permission slip and let us know. And then on the bottom, I always make a note if there's any special circumstances or things that you need us to know about your child, please let us know. Also, it's a voluntary kind of thing, so if a parent, and this has happened several times, if a parent signs their kids up and say, I want my child in this group, and it meets during lunch, and then they get to go outside for recess, and the kid comes in and it's like, I don't want to be in this group. I want to be with my friends at lunchtime, and this is silly, and I don't want to be here. That's the child's privilege to say, you know what, I'm going to opt out. And then I'll call the parent and say, you know, I know you signed your child up, but one of the things we talk about with the parents is, please don't let this be a bomb dropped on your kid. Oh, tomorrow you have divorce group, you need to be there at lunch. Discuss with your child. Is this something you want to be part of? This is what it entails. When we send out our note, we describe what we're going to do over the period of 6 weeks. For our lower elementary age kids, K1, 2, we do a lot of play therapy, role-playing, puppets, Play-Doh, art projects, and that gets them to articulate. For our older children, and I brought some of our books, we might use books to start us off, such as like The Dinosaur's Divorce we use for lower and upper, My Parents' Divorce. This is a little more sophisticated, When My Parents Forgot to Be How to Be Friends, My Family's Changing. So these kind of books are kind of jump starts for how we run our groups. And so sometimes we use DVDs for our older children. We communicate with the parents ahead of time so that when the child decides to be in the group, it's kind of like already a feeling or a situation that the child's comfortable with in terms of knowing what to expect. And then the child also is allowed to say after 4 or 5 weeks, you know what, when this group ends, this is all I need to do. And so they don't have to go into another group if they don't want to.
It's fully voluntary. And typically, how many are in a group?
We try and limit it to 6, about 6, because if we get more than 6, it gets to be kind of overwhelming in terms of the children don't get a chance to communicate and articulate their feelings if more than 6 are in the group. We've played around with the numbers, having up to 8 for our older children, but we try and keep it small. This year I ran a kindergarten K1 group, and I had 4 children in it, because each child had a lot to say. They were new divorces. There was a lot of feelings associated with it. There was a lot of issues in the home. And so I felt with any more children, I'd be losing the sense of, I need my turn to speak. So I'm really pretty sensitive to the fact of who my population is, and that's how I number the amount of kids in the group. And if it means I have to run 2 first grade groups back to back, a Tuesday lunch and a Thursday lunch, I'll do that, as opposed to, you know, putting 10 kids in a group and then nobody gets a chance to talk. So I'm really careful about that.
Suzi, are you the sole person running the group, or do you have someone working with you?
I have my partner who I work with named Sherry Davenport, who I truly adore and respect. She's amazing, and she and I run the groups together. We try to co-facilitate our groups as much as we can, because many times I'll be reading and something will be going on non-verbally that she picks up on as a co-facilitator, so she can address that. Like somebody will be sullen or withdrawn or whatever when we get to a certain page, and if I focused on the whole group and reading, I may not pick that up, but Sherry can address that. So we like to, we're not always in the building on the same days, so many times we'll have to run our groups independently, and if that happens, I'll try and scale my group down, knowing that I'm going to run it myself so that I can be sensitive to the needs of all the children.